through gate 7 and get you out onto the Speedway itself. Again, as we head through gate 7, I want to welcome you to Daytona National Speedway. The Speedway itself actually started with groundbreaking back in November of 1957, and it didn't take them all that long to complete the building of the racetrack, as it was ready for the first running of the Daytona 500 in February of 1959. The racetrack is located on 480 acres of property, which 180 of those acres are inside the walled areas you see here immediately to our right. The configuration is a little bit different than most raceways that you'll see. Most racetracks are built as an oval configuration, which is pretty much like an elongated O, kind of like the O at Daytona a little bit. They both have straightaways that are consistent and straight as narrow, but you can see this is, of course, ours is what we call a triangle configuration. Looks more like the D configuration with the Daytona logo. The backstretch you'll see is totally different from this front stretch, as it is a straightaway, which is truly straight. But this front straightaway as such is actually a big curve from turn 4 all the way down to the apex area here at the start-finish line. It bends out to the right, kind of like the bottom portion of the D. And then from the start-finish line all the way down to turn 1, it bends back to the left, like the upper portion of the D. It is a 2.5-mile triangle configuration, and this front stretch is actually 800 feet longer than the back stretch. It's 3,000 feet for the back stretch and 3,800 here for the front stretch. You can see the start-finish line here. That's 18 degrees of banking. The flag stand is roughly 22 feet above the ground there, and that is where the flagman would stand. They got an electronic signboard that could let them know cars that necessarily need to be black flagged or stopped for any particular reason. They'll flash other types of information, of course, up there to the drivers from that billboard or electronic sign that goes around the top of the flag stand itself. And you can see over here to our left this big grass area that separates the pit road area from the road racetrack itself. That is held for a lot of different things. The reason we don't have so much grass on there right now is back in March we had the motorcycles here for the motocross back at the first part of motorcycle speed weeks that were here in March. They put 219 dump trucks full of dirt out on that facility in order to make the 40 jumps designed by Ricky Carmichael. Of course, after that was over with, we took as much dirt as we could out and leveled the rest. Of course, it was quite torn up. So we replanted grass seed in there in July, and we put the grass again ready for the Coke Sequel 400. We also have pre-race concerts in there. The Zach Brown band was here for the pre-race Daytona 500, as well as driver introductions that would be on television and to the fans themselves. Over here on the other side of pit road, you see the blue awning there that covers what we call the pit road patios. A lot of corporations will entertain their guests in that facility. Down by the bottom there, by the steps, they'll have tents set up with food and drink. They'll come up and sit up in those stands. Those metal boxes have closed circuit television broadcasts and a great view, of course, of pit road as well as the front straightaway. Again, it's called the pit road patios. These two roads here we're about to embark on, going the smaller road to our left and this larger road that we're on, are not used by NASCAR, but they are part of our road course that we use for many other series that race here at Daytona. The smaller road is called the pit road, and this larger road, as we said, off the racetrack. And sports cars will actually come down here, make a big hard left-hand turn past this gate structure here, down about a quarter of a mile to our left, where we'll see a little later area, which is basically a big U-turn called the International Horseshoe. Down about a quarter of a mile down, turn them around, head back on the other side of the grass where the blue guardrail is located over there, all the way down to the far end of the Speedway infield course. Make a big U-turn called the West Horseshoe, head them back directly towards us, and you see over there just past the tire barriers. Well, they'll take a big hard left-hand turn, come down this little short chute that's to our left, and make a big hard left-hand turn back out onto the 2.5-mile triangle. And this is used by various series that race here at Daytona. Just not long ago in March, the motorcycles raced for the Daytona 200 on that facility and the outer course. Also, the last weekend in January, the Rolex 24 endurance race was here. One of only 2 endurance races for 24 hours in the world, one here, the other Le Mans, France, as well as all our other sports car racing will utilize an infield course. And in December, the World Karting Association will also use that facility also. By using that inner course and the outer course, it ends up being a 3.56-mile road course by using both. And that is the only flat portion of Speedway we have here at Daytona, that portion of road course. The double yellow lines you see just to our right, it goes straight to the top of the speedway. The width of the track is about 40 feet. And to the left over here, the grass at the bottom of the apron area, if you went straight up, it would be roughly 44 feet high at the top of the speedway. So on race days, guys will be coming in here at some 195 to 200 miles an hour ranges apart, 2 and 3 wide, going through what is the equivalent of a 4-story building, angled at 31 degrees. Truly show you how big this racetrack is. As we clear this seated structure here, you look to our left and look all the way down to the other end of the speedway, you'll see turns 3 and 4. We'll be going through that in just a minute or two. We have the same configuration here as 1 and 2. 2,600 feet, the 31 degrees, might be 44 feet high. The only difference is that's about a mile away, all the way to the other side of the speedway. You can see how truly big the racetrack is. racing, you may know what that is. During last year's Daytona 500, one Pablo Montoya lost control of his vehicle during a caution period coming down the backstretch. Had a piece of mechanical problem underneath the car, and it actually lost control, went up the racetrack and ran into the back of a jet dryer that was there during caution, blowing the track off. About 175 gallons of aviation fuel leaked out the back of that vehicle down the racetrack, igniting, burning up that portion there. We were able to continue the race, but a week after the race was over with, we had late construction come in and cut out an inch and a half of that asphalt, repave it, level it down, make it completely level with the remaining portion of the racetrack, which is important because we just repaved this facility back right after the July race in 2010. Took all the asphalt out and all the way down to the lime rock dirt foundation, which was the first time we've done that since we built the racetrack in 1959. We did repave in 1978, but we just added 2 inches of asphalt to the existing surface. But right after the July race in 2010, we pulled all this asphalt out, started to repave again all the way around. You can imagine sitting up the top of that 31 degrees of banking, sitting on a paver, being pretty scary in order to make it a safer trip. We actually took out that safer barrier, the catch fence, and those light poles that you see. And right on the other side of that concrete wall, we got a little road that goes around the racetrack, a little dirt road right on the outside there. We positioned a bulldozer right on the other side of that wall with a big hook that came over the wall attached to the paper at the top to make it more stable. And from there down to where we are, where the asphalt truck was located, they had a big conveyor belt. So from here all the way to the other side of the wall to where the bulldozer was, they moved slowly together as they first made 4 passes across the top of the speedway, then 4 passes across the bottom of the speedway in order to lay the 7 inches of asphalt necessary to repave the entire facility. Starting in July of 2010, we finished early December of that year, giving us the opportunity to have testing and be ready for the running of the race, of course, in February of 2011. It was the equivalent of paving about 33 acres of property, and was done at a cost of right at $20 million. So it should be in good shape for a racing surface here for many years to come. Well, as we come out of turn 4 now, heading down towards the start-finish line, you're seeing the exact same view that every driver has seen since 1959. The racetrack itself has not changed in configuration. Even though we've repaved, we haven't changed the configuration. 31 degrees of banking in the corners, 3 degrees on the backstretch, and 18 degrees at the start-finish line are the same configurations that it was built in 59. Outside the racetrack, it's changed a lot. The seating and other structures. This is one of those skid pads we added a few years ago where it used to be grass. And on the other side of that smaller wall there, you'll see those open garages. Those are 30 overflow garages that are here for drivers who are here for qualifying. Before the qualifying field is set for 43 cars that'll make the field. These are the 44 enclosed garages. We'll see that as we drive through. We're going to drive actually through those garages when we come back and go through gate 7. But those 44 enclosed garages are for the drivers who come in after the qualifying session is complete. 43 cars make the field. Each one of them gets one of those enclosed garages. As we said, we'll see it when we come through the spring fan zone. Well, we just made one lap around Daytona National Speedway. Took us about 16 minutes to do so. It wasn't too bad. Took Bill Elliott, though, a little more than 42 seconds to do it back in 1987. And that was our course record, a little better than 210 miles an hour. That should stay for quite some time. I don't think we'll have anything change that with the new requirements we have on cars. The pit road is 1,600 feet long that you're coming down, 55 feet wide from the concrete out to the grass, and those 43 pit stalls are 15 and a half by 25. They'll come in there at some 55 miles an hour with cars behind them in front of them. Have to stick it right in between those 2 lines. But they'll do it successfully most of the time, not always. They make that concrete rather than asphalt and get a little better traction. So, and you see the big black building here. That is the Daytona 500 Club. That is an area for entertainment during race time, and we're going to do what every driver wants to do after the finish of a race. We're going to make this big part of the left-hand turn and head to Gatorade Victory Lane. Now, a professional photographer in there will be taking your picture. I think it's Flavio that's being there today. We're going to get in there and get some pictures on Gatorade Victory Lane. Of course, you can take them individually or as a group. It really doesn't matter. Or both if you'd like. See if this side is open. It looks like it is. We're going to get you in through here. Get you in to take some pictures and then reboard so we can get you back.